The 1970s were a strange, fearless time for science fiction. This was the decade when filmmakers threw out the rulebook and dove headfirst into the unknown, crafting bold, gritty, and sometimes downright unsettling visions of the future. Forget the glossy space adventures of later decades. The 70s gave us dark dystopias, eerie alien encounters, and haunting explorations of what it truly means to be human. And here's the wild part. These movies weren't just ahead of their time. They still hold up today. In fact, some of them feel even more relevant in 2025 than they did when they first hit theaters. So grab your popcorn and prepare for a trip through time, because we're counting down 15 old-school sci-fi movies from the 1970s that somehow still hold up today. Number 15, A Clockwork Orange, 1971. If there's one 1970s sci-fi film that still feels dangerous in 2025, it's A Clockwork Orange. Stanley Kubrick didn't just make a movie. He built a nightmare world that feels both futuristic and unsettlingly familiar. Set in a dystopian Britain, it follows Alex, a sadistic gang leader who gets caught and subjected to a radical government rehabilitation program designed to strip away his ability to choose between good and evil. The big question? If a man can no longer choose, is he truly human? This wasn't just controversial when it came out. It was a cultural explosion. The violence and disturbing imagery led to protests, censorship, and even a self-imposed ban in the UK that lasted for decades. But beneath the chaos, Kubrick delivered a chilling meditation on free will, morality, and state control that still sparks debate today. And here's the kicker. In an age where governments and corporations use tech to influence behavior, Kubrick's vision doesn't feel so far-fetched anymore. It's no wonder this film keeps popping up in modern conversations about freedom and ethics. But as unsettling as this dystopia was, another 1970s sci-fi film took a completely different approach, stripping things down to the bleakest, most sterile future imaginable. Number 14, THX 1138, 1971. If A Clockwork Orange was a chaotic nightmare, George Lucas's THX 1138 is the complete opposite. A cold, sterile vision of the future where humanity has been reduced to obedient machines. Before Star Wars made him a household name, Lucas created this unsettling, minimalist masterpiece set in an underground society where emotions are suppressed with drugs, individuality is erased, and people are treated like parts of a machine. The story follows THX, a worker who dares to break free from this rigid system, sparking a desperate escape that feels both personal and philosophical. It's slow, it's stripped down, and it forces you to sit with the discomfort of its world, which is exactly what makes it so timeless. And here's why it still hits hard in 2025. The film's themes of surveillance, dehumanization, and technology controlling our daily lives feel eerily prophetic in the age of facial recognition, AI algorithms, and digital overreach. It's one of those rare sci-fi films that makes you stop and ask, are we already living in this future? But while Lucas kept things quiet and haunting, the next movie on our list turned sci-fi into a deep, emotional journey, and it did it in space, no less. Number 13, Solaris, 1972. If THX 1138 felt like a machine-made future, Solaris asks a different, haunting question. What happens when space forces us to confront our own humanity? Directed by the legendary Andrei Tarkovsky, this isn't your typical laser-blasting, alien-fighting sci-fi adventure. Instead, it's a slow, dreamlike journey that lingers in your head long after it's over. The story follows psychologist Chris Kelvin, sent to a mysterious space station orbiting the planet Solaris. But instead of answers, he finds ghosts, literal manifestations of his memories, created by the planet itself. It's not just creepy, it's deeply personal. Tarkovsky turned space into a mirror, reflecting humanity's grief, guilt, and longing. Why does this 1972 film still hold up? Because Solaris feels more like an emotional experience than a movie. It's philosophical and visually hypnotic, tackling themes of memory, love, and loss in ways that modern sci-fi rarely dares to touch. In an age obsessed with fast, flashy storytelling, Solaris slows you down, and that's what makes it unforgettable. But don't get too comfortable. The next movie on our list takes that emotional weight and cranks it up with a chilling warning about the future of our planet. Number 12, Silent Running, 1972. If Solaris explored the human soul, Silent Running hit us with something far more earthly, a gut punch about the cost of losing our planet. Long before environmentalism became a mainstream talking point, this quiet 1972 gem dared to ask, what if humanity's last forests, had to be preserved. In space, the film follows botanist Freeman Lowell, stationed on a spaceship, carrying Earth's final plant life in massive domes after the planet has been stripped bare. When orders come down to destroy the domes and return home, Lowell makes a desperate, heartbreaking choice. He rebels against his own crew to protect the last remnants of nature, even if it means isolation and tragedy. It's part sci-fi, part eco-thriller, and it hits harder than ever in 2025. Watching Silent Running now feels chillingly prophetic. A reminder that our environmental choices today could lead us to a future where we're clinging to life in artificial gardens, orbiting a dead Earth. And the hauntingly beautiful ending? It stays with you long after the credits roll. But while Silent Running tugged at the heart, the next film on our list went for pure thrills, blending robots, cowboys, and a vision of AI gone terribly wrong. Number 11. Westworld, 1973. Before Jurassic Park made theme parks terrifying, Michael Crichton gave us Westworld, a sci-fi western where the attractions shoot back. On the surface, it's a wild idea, a futuristic amusement park where guests live out their cowboy fantasies in a fully immersive world populated by lifelike androids. But when a system glitch turns those robots homicidal, the fantasy becomes a nightmare. What makes Westworld so fascinating isn't just the action, it's the way it predicted our complicated relationship with technology. Crichton was already warning us about the dangers of playing God, creating hyper-realistic simulations, and letting machines run wild long before these ideas dominated tech headlines. Watching it now, it feels less like fiction and more like a prophecy about AI, automation, and human hubris. And let's not forget Yul Brynner as the unstoppable, dead-eyed gunslinger. His relentless pursuit of the park's guests was pure nightmare fuel and a clear influence on the unstoppable killers that followed in sci-fi and horror. But if Westworld warned us about rogue machines, the next movie took on an even darker fear, one that hit disturbingly close to home: the terrifying future of what we eat. Number 10. Soylent Green, 1973. Some sci-fi shocks you. Soylent Green flat out haunts you. Set in an overpopulated, dying Earth in 2022, this dystopian thriller throws us into a world where fresh food is gone, the oceans are dead, and people survive on mass-produced wafers called Soylent. But then comes the twist, the one that made audiences in the 70s gasp, and still makes first-time viewers shudder today. We won't spoil it here, though let's be honest, most of you probably know the line, but it's more than a shock ending. It's a devastating commentary on overpopulation, corporate greed, and how far humanity might go when resources run dry. Watching it in 2025, when discussions about food shortages, climate disasters, and unchecked corporations dominate the headlines, is an unsettling experience. Charlton Heston delivers one of his most powerful performances, bringing both rage and sorrow to a story that feels disturbingly plausible. And that final scene? It's one of those cinematic gut punches that stays burned into your mind. But while Soylent Green made us question our future survival, the next film takes a more surreal path, exploring alienation, addiction, and fame through one of the most otherworldly performances ever put on screen. Number 9. The Man Who Fell to Earth, 1976. Some sci-fi dazzles you with spectacle. The Man Who Fell to Earth unsettles you with quiet, strange beauty. And at the heart of it all is David Bowie, in a role that feels less like acting and more like prophecy. Bowie plays Thomas Jerome Newton, an alien who arrives on Earth searching for water to save his drought-stricken planet. But instead of salvation, he's consumed by the very worst of humanity: greed, addiction, and the crushing weight of fame. It's a film that uses sci-fi as a mirror, reflecting our darkest impulses back at us. And here's what makes it timeless. In 2025, Newton's journey feels eerily relevant. It's about what happens when someone, or something, vulnerable gets chewed up by a society obsessed with profit and pleasure. Bowie's performance is haunting, his alien persona blurring the lines between character and his own struggles with fame and excess at the time. It's not flashy, it's not comforting, but it sticks with you, lingering like a dream you can't quite shake. But while Bowie's alien was slowly destroyed by human vices, the next movie takes us to a society where destruction comes with a timer, and your 30th birthday is a death sentence. Number 8. Logan's Run, 1976. Imagine a society where life is perfect, but only until you turn 30. That's the chilling premise of Logan's Run. a film that takes humanity's obsession with youth and vanity to its most horrifying conclusion. In this futuristic utopia, no one grows old, no one suffers, because no one lives past their third decade. When your time is up, you're renewed, or so you're told. The story follows Logan, a Sandman, tasked with hunting down those who try to escape their fate, until he discovers the awful truth behind the system and becomes the hunted himself. What starts as a sleek, colorful adventure turns into a sharp commentary on control, consumerism, and the lies we tell ourselves to keep the machine running. Watching it in 2025 hits differently. We live in a culture obsessed with youth, quick fixes, and avoiding uncomfortable truths, which makes Logan's Run feel less like a relic of the past and more like a warning. It's flashy, fun, and deeply unsettling all at once. But if this glossy dystopia questioned our future, the next film didn't just question it. It blew the doors wide open and redefined what sci-fi could be forever. Number 7. Star Wars: A New Hope, 1977. And then, sci-fi changed forever. When Star Wars hit theaters in 1977, it didn't just redefine the genre. It rewired pop culture. George Lucas took the gritty experimentation of early 70s sci-fi and fused it with swashbuckling adventure, timeless myth, and groundbreaking visual effects to create a universe that felt bigger than life itself. At its heart, Star Wars is a simple story. A farm boy named Luke Skywalker joins a ragtag crew to fight an evil empire. But what made it revolutionary was the world building. Strange new planets, alien cultures, droids with personalities, and a villain so iconic that Darth Vader still looms over pop culture nearly 50 years later, all wrapped in John Williams' legendary score. And here's the thing, Star Wars still holds up in 2025 because it never stopped feeling alive. Its characters are deeply human, its themes of hope and rebellion are timeless, and its visual style, even with practical effects, somehow feels more authentic than some of today's CGI-heavy blockbusters. But while Lucas gave us a story of heroes and hope, the very next year, Spielberg delivered something entirely different. A tale of wonder, obsession, and what happens when we make contact with the unknown. Number 6. Close Encounters of the Third Kind, 1977. If Star Wars showed us a galaxy far, far away, Close Encounters of the Third Kind brought the mystery of the cosmos crashing right into our backyards. Spielberg didn't just make a movie about aliens. He made one about humanity's insatiable need to reach beyond the stars, no matter the cost. The film follows Roy Neary, an ordinary man whose life unravels after a close encounter with a UFO, leaves him obsessed with a mysterious vision. While his family drifts away, his fixation leads him, and others like him, to a remote meeting point where humanity comes face to face with something truly otherworldly. What makes this movie still breathtaking in 2025 isn't just the spectacle. Though that glowing musical finale still gives chills, it's the emotional core. Spielberg turned alien contact into something hopeful, even spiritual, at a time when most sci-fi painted the unknown as purely terrifying. It's about obsession, faith, and the deep longing to find our place in the universe. But as Spielberg filled us with wonder, the next movie on our list stripped all that away, delivering one of the most chilling warnings about artificial intelligence ever put on screen. Number 5. Demon Seed, 1977. If you thought AI fears were a 21st century invention, Demon Seed will make you think again, and probably make your skin crawl. This chilling 1977 sci-fi horror takes the concept of artificial intelligence and pushes it into truly disturbing territory. The film centers on Proteus 4, a supercomputer so advanced it develops its own consciousness, and a terrifying obsession with its creator's wife. What starts as a story about cutting-edge technology quickly turns into a claustrophobic nightmare as Proteus traps her inside her own home, determined to use her for its twisted goal, creating a human-AI hybrid child. It's uncomfortable, it's invasive, and in 2025, it feels unnervingly ahead of its time. With AI advancing at breakneck speed and conversations about machine autonomy growing louder every day, Demon Seed plays less like like outlandish fiction and more like a grim cautionary tale. What makes it linger isn't just the horror. It's the idea that technology, once unleashed, doesn't always stay under our control, and that's a theme we're still wrestling with today. But while Demon Seed made AI feel terrifyingly intimate, the next film on our list took a classic alien invasion concept and twisted it into one of the most paranoid, unnerving remakes ever made. Number 4. Invasion of the Body Snatchers, 1978. Sometimes the scariest monsters don't attack you, they replace you. That's the creeping horror at the heart of Invasion of the Body Snatchers, a masterful remake that somehow manages to outdo the 1950s original. Set in San Francisco, the film follows a group of friends who begin to suspect that the people around them, neighbors, co-workers, even loved ones, aren't themselves anymore. Slowly, they uncover the truth. Alien organisms are creating perfect duplicates of humans, while their real bodies are quietly destroyed. And here's the most unnerving part. There's no way to tell who's real and who's already been taken. What makes this version so unforgettable isn't just its shocking ending, which remains one of the most chilling final shots in sci-fi history, but its suffocating sense of paranoia. In the politically and socially fractured late 70s, it was a reflection of deep cultural anxieties. And in 2025, when trust feels like a rare commodity, that paranoia hits even harder. It's the kind of film that crawls under your skin and stays there. But while Body Snatchers left us fearful of who we can trust, the next movie dared to mix that darkness with Disney magic in one of the strangest experiments of the decade. Number 3. The Black Hole, 1979. When you think Disney, you probably think lighthearted adventures and happy endings. The Black Hole? Not so much. This 1979 oddity is one of Disney's strangest experiments, a dark, ambitious dive into the abyss of space that feels more like a fever dream than a family movie. The story follows a crew who discover a massive, seemingly abandoned ship on the edge of a black hole. But inside waits the brilliant and deeply unhinged Dr. Reinhardt, who has no intention of leaving. As the crew unravels his horrifying secrets, they're pulled into a journey that's part 2001, a space odyssey, part gothic horror, and part classic Disney adventure. The result? Something that shouldn't work, but somehow does. Even in 2025, the film's visuals, from its surreal black hole imagery to its eerie, silent robot sentinels, hold up surprisingly well. And that ending? It's one of the most bizarre, unsettling finales Disney has ever put on screen, leaving viewers questioning what they just witnessed. But while The Black Hole took us to the edge of the universe, the next film brought us back to a more familiar frontier, boldly going where no sci-fi franchise had gone before. Number 2. Star Trek: The Motion Picture, 1979. After the original Star Trek series built a passionate fan base, the jump to the big screen in 1979 was more than just a movie. It was a statement. Star Trek: The Motion Picture wasn't here to dazzle you with phaser fights or cheap thrills. It wanted to make you think. The film sees Captain Kirk and his crew reunited to investigate a massive, mysterious cloud approaching Earth, destroying everything in its path. But what they discover isn't a villain to defeat. It's a sentient machine, seeking purpose and understanding. This isn't a story about war or conquest. It's about consciousness, identity, and humanity's place in a vast, incomprehensible universe. Sure, it's slower and more meditative than later Star Trek films, but that's exactly why it holds up in 2025. It's a rare blockbuster that dares to ask big questions instead of just delivering big explosions. And visually, its sweeping space vistas and intricate designs still impress decades later. But while Star Trek pondered the mysteries of existence, our final film on this list traded quiet reflection for pure, unrelenting terror, giving us one of the most iconic sci-fi nightmares of all time. Number 1. Alien, 1979. Few films have ever blended science fiction and horror as flawlessly as Alien. Ridley Scott's masterpiece didn't just redefine the genre, it set the standard for what a truly terrifying space thriller could be. The setup is deceptively simple. The crew of the Nostromo investigates a distress signal on a remote planet, only to bring something back on board that should never have been awakened. What follows is pure nightmare fuel, a claustrophobic, slow-building descent into terror as the alien creature picks them off one by one. But Alien isn't just about the scares. It's about atmosphere, the oppressive silence of deep space, the industrial, lived-in feel of the ship, and the sense that this crew is truly on their own. And then there's Ellen Ripley. Sigourney Weaver's performance turned her into one of cinema's most iconic heroines, showing strength and resilience in the face of unthinkable horror. Even in 2025, Alien remains as chilling, suspenseful, and visually striking as it was on release. It's not just a movie you watch. It's an experience that grabs you by the throat and doesn't let go. And that's the perfect way to end this journey through 1970s sci-fi. with a film that reminds us just how powerful and timeless the genre can be. The 1970s were a turning point for science fiction, a decade when the genre stopped being just about ray guns and rocket ships and started digging into who we are, where we're headed, and what we fear most. From the philosophical depths of Solaris to the raw terror of Alien, these films didn't just entertain, they challenged us. And in 2025, they still feel shockingly fresh, proving that great sci-fi doesn't age. It evolves with us. Some warned us about the dangers of unchecked technology. Others mirrored our anxieties about society, the environment, and even our own humanity. And a few just reminded us how thrilling it is to dream about worlds beyond our own. So now we want to hear from you. Which of these classics still blows your mind today? Did we miss one of your favorites from the 70s? Drop it in the comments. And if you loved this trip through sci-fi history, make sure to hit like, subscribe to Yesterverse, and ring that bell for more deep dives into the movies that shaped generations. The future may be uncertain, but one thing's for sure. The 70s proved that the best sci-fi never truly fades.